Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome on this beautiful Thursday afternoon here in Connecticut. Anyways, it is gorgeous outside, and that's why I'm a mess because I've been outside cutting down some trees with my old man and flattening out some of the homestead area because the wife really wants to put a pool in. So we're getting this above ground pool. So I had to dig up some rock and tree stumps and all that stuff. So I've been very busy on my little Terramite backhoe. But that being said, that's why there wasn't an episode yesterday. And we're going to do a quick episode today talking about types of PMAs, because this question comes up every once in a while. And so I thought we'd cover that today. But I don't expect anybody to be on the live today because there wasn't a couple episodes this past couple days. Today is like a really random time, 2:14 that we're getting on. Hopefully things start to calm down a little bit here. I get caught up in some of my chores around the homestead to where I can start doing this more in the morning time frame and what have you. But that being said, let's get into cleaning some of the housekeeping and stuff like that around here. There are a few things that have been going on in the news that I'm just not even going to talk about today. I think they've been talked about on other platforms, Biden's State of the Union, stuff like that. I mean, yeah, it's snapshots and sound bites, right? I think that's what Dan Bongino calls it. And there were some pretty good doozies from there. But a couple things really before we get into this topic today. If you are looking for more information, I need to update the site. I haven't updated it in a few days. So there's going to be some information coming out on East Coast PMA. So you can head over there. You can pick up some more content. You can pick up DIY templates if you want to write your own documents for your own association, or you can schedule time with me over there also to help you do that. Also, if you want even more information that is not on East Coast PMA, but is over at the PMA Manifesto, that is the wrong one. That is for my real estate stuff. Let's put that one down here. I don't know why that one's there. Here it is. DIY templates. You can also get those over at the PMAmanifesto.com. There's also articles and blog posts over there that you will not find in most cases on East Coast PMA. And if you get set up on that newsletter also and join their Facebook group, you can do a call with us once a month where we get to answer any questions you might have when it comes to associations and stuff like that. And it would be great to see some of you on there and get those questions answered, because a lot of you have great questions when it comes to associations. So two, we'll call them sponsors, I guess. They're not really sponsors, but two individuals or two businesses that I'm working with in conjunction with this podcast. First one being the folks over at Start 9, and I haven't reached back out to Matt. I have to do that this week, even though the week's almost over. Flew by, and talk to him about getting him on to do an interview about the Start 9 system and how it benefits not only the individual, but if you're setting up a community or any type of association, how it's a very integral part to your association, because it allows that freedom of communication, taking back your computer sovereignty. And on that, I'm just going to let you hear from them.
We all save our data, but where is it saved? In the cloud, which is actually this building in one of these computers with millions of others. This is called a honeypot, a single place full of data worth a hacker's time to steal. But instead, if you saved your data on your own computer at home, you wouldn't be worth the attack. Saving your own data is easy. Simply plug in a Start 9 device and start saving all your own data today. So, will you stay in the honeypot, or will you take control of your data? Start now. Start 9.
All right, that's their newest video from their website. And the last thing, so with that, if you happen to go over to Start 9, pick up an embassy server, I think that's what they're still calling for yourself, you can use this code right there at the bottom of the screen. That is a code for 9% off, and it's Rebel Alliance. If you use that code, you get 9% off, and then you can then get it at a discounted price, which is something I wish I knew ahead of time, or something that I haven't. I bought mine, but it is worth every single penny. So the last thing I want to bring your attention to is this journal I've been reading over the last few months, and recently decided I would have a spot for them as like a sponsorship, but not really a sponsorship, just a spot to tell you about them. And it is Trends Journal. It comes out every Thursday. It has stuff in it from trends on the market and economy and market front, Israel war, trends on global economics, trends I view, featured trends, guest articles, technocracy, trends in high tech science, and it goes on and on. It is a 179 page journal that comes out just about every Thursday. And if you use this link at the bottom of the screen, you can go to trendsjournal.com/Rebel Alliance/REF/81. I really wish there was an easier way to combine that. Maybe I'll figure that out. But anyways, if you go over there, I think it's like 14 or 15 bucks a month. Get it for a month or two. Read the journals. Tell me what you think. There is a lot of really interesting information on what they put forward. And even Robert Kiyosaki, he backs them. So anyways, I have that latest one to read. All right, let's get into today's topic. And that's what I wanted. So this came the other day. So check this out. So every month or two, I get this in the mail. And it is now whether you like Amazon or not, we all use it. So don't pretend like you don't. But I get this Amazon rewards card, and I get it just for paying my electric bill, which is pretty cool. So if you want information on that, let me know, and I can leave it in the comments. I can direct you where to go to get set up. And it actually lowered my bill a little bit. It locked me into a really good rate for 12 or 24 months, whatever you want to pick. But just by using this service, and there's other games and stuff you can play, or things you can do. I don't want to necessarily say games, but things you can do through the website to earn, let's call it an alternative currency. And as you earn these points, you can use them in redemption. And so I get a $25 Amazon gift card every other month or so based on my points and how often I'm on the website. So I figure, hey, 25 bucks is 25 bucks. It allows me to then purchase something, hopefully, that, is in that price range, maybe a little more, to do a review on, so I can do a product of the week or month or whatever it is that I'm going to do with those things. But again, it's just a way for me to, bring in more, we'll call it income, because it is a form of currency. I can use it to purchase things. So it's another way to supplement everything that I do. And I think that it's definitely something everybody should be considering doing, is having some type of sole proprietorship, part-time business, some side hustle, if you will. There's no reason nowadays why you shouldn't have one, to bring in that extra income, to do those extra things around your homestead or become more prepared. So that's enough of me talking on that soapbox. Let's get into today's topic, and that is types of PMAs. Now, I'm going to use PMA on here because that's what most people search, even though we all know, if you've been on this channel for a little while, that they are unincorporated associations. And let me turn the comments on, because we actually have a few people popping on today. So feel free to shout out and let me know where you're from, if you have a question, what have you. So I've got, let's see, how many do I have here? I've got 15. These are in no particular order. These are just types of associations, and some I help people set up and some I don't. And we'll kind of go through that. So the first one on here is a social club. And so you can think of like a country club, yacht club, sports clubs. That's not the kind of social club that I set up. I guess mine are a little bit of a hybrid, and we'll get to it in a little bit. But you can have a social club set up as an unincorporated association. You can gather for whatever that reason is. And maybe it's just you want to get together with others in your area that want to do nature walks once a week, or foraging, or biking, or hiking. You can put together this club, and then it's always good, as your club grows, to have some type of bylaws. And that's why I'm talking about these different types here, because, you might have already started one of these and not even realize that you are doing or running a unincorporated association. So first one on the list is a social club. Next one is more of a, for professional associations. So you could think of like engineers, doctors, lawyers getting together, chamber of commerce type things. Those are the ones that are more like public, but you could definitely have an unincorporated association for professionals. And maybe it's an association you start, you're unincorporated, you're not corporate at any level, and you start doing kind of like a alternative chamber of commerce, where you bring in all these different business owners or professionals together that aren't plugged in to the normal stuff. Hey, Frozen Dog, thanks for coming on today. Hopefully you got nice weather like we do. We're almost at 60 something today. I think it's nice out. So that's why I've said earlier I'm a mess, because I've been digging with the backhoe and cutting down trees. So thanks for jumping on. Hopefully it's nice where you are today. So maybe, like we talk about alternative currencies all the time, you say, hey, listen, I'm a business owner. I hate to use the word woke, but I'm not a sheeple, whatever you want to call it. I'm trying not to use too many terms to get banned here or censored, but maybe you're just a business owner that says, listen, I want to connect with other business owners that are like-minded like me, and we can get together and we can support each other. So maybe you start an unincorporated association that's a professional association. And next with that would, kind of fall into line would be, I would kind of pair these two together, a business association. So it's an unincorporated business association where it's other businesses, kind of like I was talking about the professional side of it. Maybe the professional side is a bunch of mechanics getting together, but then on the business side, you have a business, you have a garage. And so now you're working with other businesses like I was talking about earlier, somewhere around there. You could do something like that. And I think those are great ways to start all these alternatives to the mainstream garbage that we have to deal with when dealing with others. And maybe we just don't want to be around, people that had the thing in the arm and all that other stuff. So again, you could set these up for multiple of reasons. And today, because this question comes up, I just wanted to say, hey, these are some of the associations that you could think about. The next one that I do a lot with is religious organizations. So that could be churches, synagogues, temples, faith ministries type thing where you're not, and again, I'm trying not to blur the lines here, but if you are a church, temple, synagogue, mosque, what have you, you then have that opportunity to fall under the 508c1a, where you tax code, where you are tax exempt if you're operating properly. But within that realm of religious organizations, you could have a faith-based association where maybe it's, not a church, not a ministry, maybe it's just a bunch of believers getting together to share their thoughts and help organize things within the community. And by having that religious organization formed, it's more structured. People have more skin in the game. It's more of a reason for them to come together. So that could be a type of religious organization. Don't just necessarily think church all the time, or temple or synagogue or mosque or something like that. You could think of, maybe if you wanted to do missionary work within your own state, you have a ministry set up where you're not necessarily tax exempt, but your mission is to, spread the good word to people, or, that sort of thing, where you're not running a full blown church, but you have a faith backed association, I guess is probably the best way to put it. This one I threw in here, and I really don't do anything with this, but these are a type of association. So maybe if you're a sports person, or, and I'm always thinking of alternative to the mainstream, like we're always looking for alternative currencies or alternative, ecosystems, that sort of thing. Well, maybe there's some need for an alumni association. I'm not a big sports person. I used to play soccer back in high school. I haven't played it a long time since I was overseas with the military, with some pickup games, but it's one of those things where maybe there's a need for it. I don't know, but I'm just throwing it out there. Some of these different types of associations. Now, the next one, fraternal organizations, you're going to see these all over the place. They can be used to share values, support the community service, fellowship of their members, all different types of things. You could think of like, fraternal orders, your Moose Lodge, your Elk Lodges. Fraternities or fraternal organizations were really big in like the 30s to 50s, if I recall, from a book I was reading. Think of your Freemasons. It's another fraternal organization. These are all different. They were really big back then. Everybody had bowling leagues, and that was a thing. Everybody had those groups, and we don't have those really that much anymore. So maybe there's a need to start something like that in your area, and you can do it as an unincorporated association where again, it's that alternative to what's out there. So maybe there is a Moose Lodge, and maybe they're all woke as woke can be, and you're just like, everybody wears pins with their pronouns on it. And you're like, that's not me. But I know there's this other group of people that are kind of in the same boat I am. Let's start our own thing. It's this alternative economy, this alternative parallel economy stuff that we need to be focusing on, especially if, things are going to keep going the way it is. And like what we say at Liberty House is that, we rather, there's a couple of different patriot groups, we'll call them, in Connecticut that I am associated with. And I would rather keep my money in one of those groups. So if somebody does brake jobs or oil changes, somebody paints, somebody's a construction guy, I always go to those groups first when I'm looking for somebody to do work or somebody to contract, because I'd rather keep that money within that group. It could be the same thing for some of these fraternal orders. You put something together, maybe it's like your Moose Lodge, but maybe it's the Pine Tree Association that you guys set up, and you guys just hang out in the woods by some pine trees. I don't know, whatever it is. I'm just trying to give examples here. All right. Another one you could do, and this is why a lot of this stuff I haven't set up or I haven't really gotten into, is because I think when it comes to associations or unincorporated associations, most people think of doing business, commerce, that type of thing. Maybe doing some community-based association, like we have Liberty House and stuff like that, or East Coast PMA, where it's more education-based about associations. So, maybe you set up one that's for health and wellness. Maybe you don't want to go to the local gym because they're making you wear masks. So you get together with a bunch of other people who like to work out, and you start your own association, and you guys do your own thing, or your own workouts and stuff like that. And then maybe you start building that economy within that. So now people are coming to you from other groups or other associations that are like-minded. They're like, hey, I don't want to go to Planet Fitness because the clunk alarm is going to go off, or I went to my local community center and they're making me wear a mask while I'm on a treadmill, and I don't want to do that. And I get into a pissing contest every time I go. So maybe there's a need for this. And this is why I'm trying to talk about these types of associations, because a lot of people are like, well, I need to do like education, or I need to do this. And there's many things that we could set up as associations to really start building that economy, that parallel economy that we're all looking for. We're looking for alternative currencies, like I said before, Liberty Dollar, Bitcoin, Lightning payments, all that type of stuff, to where now hopefully this kind of gets the wheels turning for somebody that are watching this. It's like, I was leaning this way towards an association, but I'm really into fitness. So, I'm going to start an association that's based on fitness, get other like-minded people together, and we're all going to work out together. We're not going to wear masks, and we're going to do hikes or whatever it is. Right. So I'm just trying to, get past some of the, either it's a religious church or education. Like there's other aspects of associations that you can do. And this one's good too. This is advocacy and lobbying groups. Maybe you want to be more political in your local town or at your local state level. This is a way to get together with others, and you don't have to, get registered as a certain PAC or something like that. You could just set up your association. Again, it's like-minded people coming together for that common goal. Maybe that common goal is you want to keep pornographic material out of your school. So you put together a lobbying group that's an association, and you go to different, board of ed meetings and stuff like that. And you really try to push certain agendas because you don't like what's being taught in the school. So you can do that stuff. And if you look at the the Democratic Party or the Republican Party, they are both associations, in case you're wondering. Yeah, they are. So you have that. This one's a big one that I've helped a lot with, and it's education associations or educational organizations, associations that are set up primary for education. Now, it doesn't, don't think just like homeschooling or anything like that. So like we have Liberty House. Not only are we community based, but we also do educational stuff. Like we've had prepping classes, we've had canning classes. I think we've had canning classes. We've had off-grid radio communication, where we had somebody come in that specialized in radios and gave a class. So not only were we community-based, but we also do education. So, think of it that way, where you could do different types of education groups, and then, if maybe you're a teacher and you don't want to be in the school system anymore. So maybe you start a tutoring association where, families can come in, they can join your association. It's unincorporated. You make your own rules. You have your own bylaws. You have your own articles of organization, and you get to tutor their children, because they like that you maybe have a Judeo-Christian background and you're not pushing, all of the key words that are being tossed around these days. And I'm afraid to say those sometimes because I really don't want to get another strike on YouTube anytime soon. Unfortunately, it's pretty sad that I have to say that out loud. Well, anyways, whatever. So let's just say, they don't want the LGBTQ plus or whatever it is this week being forced on their children, or they don't want, gender queer being read to them, or maybe they, just want more conservative values in that tutoring. So they come to you because maybe they are homeschooling and they say, you know what, though there's subjects I may not be the best in, or I'm struggling with, maybe it's math, right? So they say, okay, well, you offer this tutoring association where you're on the same page, same sheet of music as us, and we like your views. So we want to bring our kids there, and then they get that tutoring aspect. So I'm just, again, I'm trying to explain that there's many different types of ways to use associations. And I think sometimes we get in that rut where it's like, oh, we can only use associations for X, Y, and Z. And that's not the case. So think of education groups, tutoring, homeschooling, that type of thing. Your private education associations would fall into this, depending on where you are. If you are going to run a straight PEA, where it's an association set up for education, it's going to be a drop off. Be prepared to deal with the town and the state, especially because licensing for that, they just love to come after you. The next one I have on the list, this is online communities. And this is something I've recently, let's say last month, had a talk with one of the, I think it was Erica. I think it was Erica over at the PMA Manifesto. And she's been working with somebody or talking to somebody, and they were looking to set up this community, but it was going to be completely online. So I had to do some research and look up some things like, okay, if this is started, let's say in Arizona, is that where the association would initially be formed in? And so do we have to look at how Arizona looks at associations, even though it's going to be online, because maybe there's certain things you can do in Arizona that you can't do in other areas and stuff like that. So there was just some few things we were looking into, but this is a new thing. And with this day and age, with all the different Telegram groups and Signal groups and Facebook groups, Noster, if you're on Noster like I am, which is a great free speech platform, not a platform, protocol, kind of like an email protocol. It's decentralized. It's great if you're not on it. It's a little buggy here and there, but there's a lot you can do it. There's a lot of value for value on there, which is nice. So you can get 2 cents for making a post. But anyways, my point is that online communities could be looked at as a way to have an association. So maybe you live in like Minot, North Dakota. I don't even know what the population there is. I just know when you were in the Air Force, that was the last place you wanted to go. But let's just say there's not a lot of people in your area. So maybe you start this association, you start connecting with other people. Maybe you already have a Telegram group that you run, and you've had some issues with booting people and people being jerks. And so you need some bylaws and articles of organization. Why can't you put together your bylaws, articles of organization, a membership agreement? And then as you gain members, let them into the Telegram group or have a questionnaire that they fill out, that sort of thing. Same thing with the Facebook group. We do that with the PMA Manifesto and East Coast PMA Facebook groups. There's a few questions you have to answer, and then we go through and we vet you to make sure you're a real person, not a bot, and so on and so forth. But again, who's to say you can't have an association that's completely online? I mean, we have all the power, right? And we have more computer power in this little phone in our pocket than we did back when I had my first Tandy 1000 computer that my dad bought from Radio Shack. I'm pretty sure it was from Radio Shack, for those of you that remember Radio Shack. So we've got the technology, and I think technology is good and it has its place. So why not form that community that maybe you don't have locally, but you can gain it online by building that community? And then again, with associations, one thing that's great is once people join them, they normally try to keep their money within that. So maybe you offer something, maybe you make elderberry syrup, and you're just meeting with these people, and there's like, oh man, you make elderberry syrup, how can I get some from you? Well, I'll send you a lightning payment address. Once I get that, I'll ship it out to you. That way there, now you're using alternative currency, you have your alternative marketplace forming. I'm not talking like Silk Road stuff here, but it's stuff that will naturally happen within your community. So let's see what else. Is there anything I missed on here? So the last one, there's did I talk about community groups already? No. So community groups would be the next one. Well, I'll do this one next because this one it's not me. It's not my whale horse. It's not my cup of tea. Like I dibble dabble when it comes to financial stuff. I'm not one that watches the financial news or anything like that. Like I stick with gold, silver, Bitcoin, and I have a few stocks, IRAs, and that sort of thing, deferred comp through work, and that's about it. But investment in financial clubs. So maybe you have an association that brings together individuals interested in investing, finances, wealth management, stuff like that. Uh, Salim, I'll bring this up in a second, man. Maybe that's your thing, and you want to, again, this is all about connecting with individuals that have the same type of awareness you have. Maybe they are on they want to get together, but they don't want to go to that mainstream stuff because they want to go to a meeting where they don't have to be looked at weird because they're not wearing a mask or what have you. So I'm not really into the financial club stuff or associations, but that's definitely a possibility. And then the last one would be community building, like we have with Liberty House. I've talked to this many times before, where we started back during the pandemic. We saw there was a need for it. We put it together, and we've grown, we shrunk, we've grown, we shrunk. And again, it's one of those things, like one of our trustees puts it, Melissa says, hey, listen, it's like a buffet. You pay your way to get to the table, and you partake in whatever you want. You want to have some pie and cookies, great. If you don't, you don't. Same thing. We got this class going on. I'm trying to put together a raised garden bed class. I'm trying to build one first to make sure I can actually teach how to do it, or at least show how I did it. So, but that's one of those things where, like, hey, listen, I'm doing a raised garden bed with just using items and stuff I found around the homestead without going to Tractor Supply, Home Depot, Amazon, and buying any of that stuff online. Hey, this is how I'm going to do it. Come on out. And then so the members show up or they don't. And that's completely up to them. And sometimes we turn it into a potluck and sometimes we don't. But anyways, those are kind of like my top things. And Salim had brought up a question here. Thanks, man, for jumping on. And I don't know if you've emailed me yet, but I will check my email tonight at some point. I've got somewhere to be at 3:30 today, East Coast time, which is in an hour. But I will check that and get you on here, because I think a lot of you are going to like to hear what he has to say in his voyage, so to speak, through the self-custody, cutting away from the man or the world around you, and to live a more free life. And he's done a lot of things, and I think a lot of us could benefit from hearing his story. So I look forward to getting you on soon, man. Oh, you have emailed me. Thank you. All right. So that raises an interesting question. What is the status of a private association that is online only? So status and jurisdiction. So what I found with that, and I have to double check with Erica, this is a few weeks ago. Basically, it looked like, okay, wherever the association was started. So like I said, if I started one here in Connecticut that was completely online, anything that happened would be in that jurisdiction of Connecticut, the way I was reading it and understanding it. And I don't know if I can find those documents. I'll have to look again. If I can find them, I'll email them to you. But it was very interesting that even though you were completely online, because there is this thing like online nations, I guess, or an online, I want to say government. I think it's like an online nation, where it's like this nation that's forming online. If I remember correctly, I heard about it a while ago, never really looked into it. But it seemed from what I looked at that if the association was started in Connecticut, that would be the governing aspect of it, regardless, that it was completely online and we never met in person. I haven't looked into it more than that, because again, I haven't had to set anybody up like that, which, is kind of interesting. I guess to an extent, East Coast PMA is kind of like that, because I don't have a lot of, well, no, I do have people in Connecticut that have reached out to me and I've helped. So that's not true. I guess that would be the closest thing I've done to where it's been strictly online. But again, being online, I think when you start going into different territories, across the pond and stuff like that, to me, I would think you'd start bringing in international law and stuff like that. Again, like any type of hate crimes or wire fraud or anything like that would kind of fall, being online. There's those certain rules or regulations that apply to online stuff, or, online threatening and those sort of things. So to the different US codes. So I guess to some extent, it might be a multitude of places that you would have to pull from to see if really anything can be enforced. Like, I guess if you were making intimidating threats online to somebody else through your association, then those certain codes, generating from the USA going to like Britain, right? Then maybe the US codes would step in along with international stuff. I honestly don't know 100%. That's just kind of how my brain processes it. So, all right, let's see here. Yeah. Uh, Again, I think it really has to. Yeah, that's true too. You never really need to, if you don't really disclose your physical address and there's nothing on, you've never filed anything or opened a bank account for it or anything like that, then I guess it'd be very hard to say where you came from. Again, I think it's a real big gray area. It's something I definitely have to look into more because just when I scratched the surface of it, it looked like, it was all based on where you started or what state you started from or country or territory is kind of the governing law for everything. However, if you are unincorporated and you didn't open up a bank account, maybe you're doing everything through, you know, um, well, parallel is, I think you have to provide documentation for parallel. It's that Rumble payment system. But however you're doing payments, let's just say you're doing strictly Bitcoin, right? And you're doing Lightning payments, you're not going to be registered anywhere. And you're not going to be, especially if you're self custody, you're not going to have your ID out there for anywhere. Like say you're using Coinbase, where it's KYC or something like that. You're not going to have to deal with that. So there would really be no record of your association, except that maybe you have a website. Now, depending on where you get your website from, like if you get in the Netherlands or Switzerland, something like that, it's got better privacy laws than if I got one here stateside, where I would have to put in a physical address and stuff like that. So I'm sure there's ways around it of really blurring who started it or where it started. But again, it's one of those things where I really have to look into more. Let's see. Liberty Dollar is a completely private banking in silver. Yeah, Liberty Dollar, they are in North Carolina or South Carolina. I always get this wrong. Hey, Debbie, I will look at your question in 1 second. The Yeah, so Liberty Dollar is a private association that's backed by Silver. They offer banking-like services. They have recently, I don't know, I haven't been on their last call. Last call actually got postponed, but there is this digital bank called Transact Card that I've been working with. Actually, even before Wayne and Kathy got over there, one of my Patriot brothers here in the state brought me into it because it was interesting. It was a completely online banking system. And they were selling franchises. So I was like, let me throw a couple $100 at it and see. I don't do much with it, but apparently, anyways, long story short, Liberty Dollar is going to be working with them. So you can use the Transact card. You instantly access your silver to turn it into fiat should you need it, like the gas pump, as opposed to waiting a day or two to have it transferred to your checking account. Anyways, yeah, Liberty Dollar is pretty decent. They're still growing. They're still, I think, figuring things out at some points here and there. Again, I haven't been really active with them lately because I've been so busy with other stuff. But yeah, they are completely private. So, Debbie, hey, Debbie, good to see you. What do you think about the government doing away with 1099 workers? So this is the first I'm hearing of that. So this is something I'm going to have to look into. This is why I love it when you guys and gals jump on and share stuff with me, because there's only so many things that I can focus my attention on, and I hadn't heard about that yet. So if you have a reference point for me to dive into that as opposed to just searching it online, that would be great. But I haven't heard anything about that yet as far as them going away with the 1099. That's very interesting, because now I'd wonder how contracted employees would get paid. So like when I work as a realtor here in the state, not that I've had time for that at all. That's talk about taking a back seat. That's really taking a bad seat. I was doing so much real estate for a while. It's just, I got paid as a 1099 employee at the end of the year. I had to keep set aside my own taxes and write-offs and all that stuff. So I would be interested to see how one would be paid that way. Even when I use Stripe, Strike's the app I use for Lightning payments. Stripe, you get a 1099 at the end of the year. So, so the current administration is doing away with it. Interesting. I'll have to look into that. And yes, yeah, Liberty Dollar is not fully mature yet, but what they have going is great. Yeah, it is. And I got started with Wayne and Kathy early on, like they were still in beta format when they were re-releasing everything. So I've seen it go through a lot of changes. And I think it's still a good option. Sometimes it can be more pricey, but it's still a good option to be private. I still use Liberty Dollar for stuff. I don't use it as much anymore. It kind of went through like a fade or a fad here in Connecticut. And I think maybe we'll start getting things back into that depending on what this economy does. But I got to tell you, for those of you that are watching or going to watch the replay, I know you may or may not like Bitcoin, but seeing what it's been doing, and if I can advise you at all, just go check out the Bitcoin Breakout by Jack Spirko. It'll answer all your questions when it comes to crypto or Bitcoin specifically, none of the crap coins. But seeing that I was around when it started, it was started in a recession, it's gone through a recession, or it's still going through a recession, and it just keeps getting stronger. And there's so much more that you can do with it now, and how it's built in and smart contracts and all this other stuff, especially with lightning payments. I mean, it is great to just be able to, send somebody 5,000 sats for something I like on Nostr. I think it's like $1 maybe, or $2, whatever it works out to be. But to see the value keep growing is great. And, maybe one day I'll own a full coin or two, but we'll see. But I just think it's one of those things where you're going to be able to build generational wealth with the Bitcoin, as opposed to some of these other crap coins like Dogecoin or Shiba Inu or whatever it is. I think it has its place. Yeah, so I'll put this up in a second. So I think there's many different ways of alternative currencies or ways to pay, and then I think like Rumble just came out with Parallel. It was something else before. I haven't used it much, but anyways, I try to stay away from Cash App, Venmo. I like to use Strike as an app for cash or Lightning, because somebody can send me cash and it gets turned into Bitcoin on my end through a Lightning payment. So there's definitely different options out there. But anyways, that being said, do you have a link explaining what you're talking about? Yeah, Debbie, if you have a link or anywhere you can share this in the chat, either now or afterwards, that would be great. I'd be really interested to see what they're talking about when they talk about getting rid of the 1099. But wow, we're halfway to double digits today. I appreciate it. Everybody jumping on. I really don't have anything else really to cover for the different types of associations or PMAs. And again, it was really kind of just, I think sometimes, like I said, we get stuck in these ruts of what we think an association can be, and we forget to start looking outside the box and saying, hey, I want to start an association for this, or I want to start an association for that. And, like I said, you could be religious, business, professional, social clubs. There's so many different things you can do with the unincorporated associations to build that, what do you call it, that parallel economy. Blaze talked about it yesterday. I don't know who Blaze is. I have to look into Blaze. Well, Debbie, this is something I'll have to look into the next day or two, and then maybe we'll talk about it on this channel, because that's interesting that they want to get rid of the 1099 and make everybody employees, because then that means you would be responsible for insurance and stuff like that. And I don't know how some of these smaller businesses or even real estate offices, specifically from my own wheelhouse, know that they work. Glenn Beck, gotcha. How like I work for real estate, and they are online like EXP. I was at EXP before. I went to Real. I like kind of their feel there a little bit more. EXP got a little too corporate for me, and they're completely online, both of them. And we're all 1099 at the end of the year. So I don't know how they would stay in business, making all of us employees being in multiple countries. So that's interesting. So allegedly, exactly. Okay. So yeah, interesting. Thank you, Debbie, for jumping on, and Salim for jumping on today. These are some great conversations. I appreciate this stuff. Tomorrow, I will hopefully be at the normal time. Oh wait, tomorrow is Friday, isn't it? So Friday, we are actually going to have a special guest on. Dave Merlin from the West Coast out of Washington State is going to be on. I've got to make sure I get him that link tomorrow, and he'll be on talking about his courses. He has over 20, I want to almost said 200 gigs, over 25 gigabytes of data that he's put together when it deals with law, taxes, tax movement stuff, tax protesters, whatever you want to call it, criminal complaints, keeping, public officials in check. Some of this stuff I've actually gone through, I've bought, I'm using right now. Quick story, without getting too much detail, our local town manager came out, said some things that were very Gestapo-like, threatening statements, has to do with busting kneecaps of residents. And now I'm challenging what they said, because it violates not only state statutes and federal code, what he did and how he sent it through a text message, but it also violates the town's harassment and harassment policies. So I'm using his class on criminal complaints to hold these clowns accountable. So I've brought it up to their attention that it needs to be handled a certain way, and that he's in a appointed position and not an elected position, and then that you know what he had said is threatening to the members of this community, and that's not his job and in his wheelhouse. So he needs to be handled appropriately. However, all that was done was some apologies, and through the Democratic mayor, it's just put this behind us and sweep it under the rug. And this is actually made it another council member who is an independent or unaffiliated. And so I was like, no, that's not okay. So then I read them the state statutes this last go around in the federal code, and the next go around on I think it's the 25th of March, we'll have another meeting, and I will be giving them a formal notice to file criminal complaints if something isn't done within the next 30 days to rectify this heinous act. So this all comes from Dave's courses. So make sure you are on tomorrow. It should be 2 p.m. East Coast time. I will put it in the Telegram group, Facebook group, East Coast PMA. I was going to say West Coast PMA, East Coast PMA, the PMA manifesto, and it'll be great. I don't know if we'll do any. We'll do questions and answers. It is going to be live, so he's on West Coast time, so I don't want to get him up too early out of bed. But he'll also have an offer for you if you're interested in getting this thumb drive sent to you with 25 gigabytes of pleadings and research, and his writing is really good when you look through some of his stuff. So that being said, thank you all for watching. I will see you all tomorrow with Dave Merlin, and we'll learn about criminal complaints and a few other different things, and the tax protester movement and everything that he's done with it and who he's helped out. So until then, thank you for watching, and I will see you all tomorrow. Peace.